Guys, it's that time of year again. We're back, we're here with a garden tour. This is probably the first one on my channel, but I did garden tours on the podcast. If you haven't seen those, I'll have that linked at the end, an entire playlist of all the garden tours that we did. So check that out if you want to see last year's garden. But today, it's July. At the time of filming this, it's June, end of June, but we'll post this in July. So, July garden tour. Let's get it. If you haven't seen it, here is my flower garden. Now, there's not a lot going on in here, but there's a couple things coming up that I would like to show you guys. So first of all, on this side of the garden, we have our zinnias, and we have a bunch of different kinds that we started. And I'm looking here, and there looks to be like there's some Japanese beetles getting at my thing, so we'll have to pick all those off and feed them to the chickens. If you have problems with Japanese beetles, get a bucket of soap and water, dunk them in them, it'll kill them, and then feed them to your chickens. They love them. You can also trap them, but I feel like the traps attract more than they do catch, so just be mindful of that. And over here, we also have some more zinnias. These were planted late. I planted leftovers, like seeds I saved from last year, and they didn't come up, so it was kind of disappointing because I wanted to see if the things that I saved would come up, and they didn't. So we'll have to retry that. Maybe we did something wrong. I don't know. But zinnias in here. I wanted to put them up front because they're just absolutely beautiful. And over here, we have our amaranth. This is getting pretty tall. I'm loving the coloration. It's just such a cool color of red and purple, pinkish. It's really pretty. I'm excited to grow these this year. In here, we had a flower growing. I think it was stalks. They did not come up, which is really, really disappointing. So we replanted. I think there's larkspur in here now. It's either larkspur or foxglove, but that's in here. And over here we have our bells of Ireland, and those are coming up really nicely along with some weeds. Oh my gosh, I'm finding so many of these, which these are ground cherries. Last year I planted ground cherries in this bed over here, I think, and they're just popping up all over my garden. That and cosmos. If you want weeds in your garden forever, plant cosmos. Morning glories. Morning glories go crazy, and plant some ground cherries because you'll have them coming up for forever. On the trellis, we have our sweet peas, which are starting to come up and trellis, which is really cool to see. You can see these ones are getting pretty tall, and I'm excited about that. So this whole trellis is going to be full of beautiful mixed colored flowers. Last year I planted these, but I didn't have the trellis on them, so they didn't get to their full capability, but I'm excited to see them work this year. And over here we have our vining black-eyed Susan. I think its original name is like Thunderbergia, but don't quote me on that. But yeah, it's a black-eyed Susan vining variety. Have that growing in here as well. This looks like a morning glory. I don't remember planting morning glories, but like I said, they pop up like crazy. But this whole trellis is also going to be covered in a really nice flowing flower. Over here on our trellis, which is looking really hairy, I need to get in here and weed it. I like to do my weeding before I give you guys tours, but this is the reality of gardening. Sometimes you just don't get to all the nitty-gritty things before you show everybody what's going on. But so this is the trellis, and in here you can see creeping along, this needs to make its way up the trellis, so I'm probably going to help it out a little bit as it grows. But this is my cypress vine, and I'm testing this out this year. I've never grown it before, but I'm intrigued to see how it does. It's kind of right now going all over the place, so we're going to try to get it up and get the cypress vine going. I need to cut back the leaves, the grass, and I need to come in here and spray some weed killer down, which I want to get a video, guys, for that. We made a weed killer that's like really natural. It's not necessarily chemicals. So I want to get a video on that for you guys because it does really work. But yeah, get rid of all these weeds. And over here is our sunflower bed. You guys watch me plant that if you haven't. I'll have that video linked at the end. And in here we have some sunflowers. You can see I had to replant a couple times. So here are the sunflowers down here. And these are ones that were planted a couple weeks ago. But up here, these were starts from last year. You can see that we've already got one coming into bloom. And a lot of these other ones are also starting to form their heads. But this is the first flower of the season in this garden, and I'm really excited about it. So we've got a big cluster of sunflowers back here. They're all making their way up. And over here we also have more sunflowers coming up. This looks like a dwarf variety. I forget what I planted exactly, but yeah, sunflowers are coming up and they're getting pretty tall and they're looking really good. Over here are my glads. I don't necessarily know what's happening with these guys. I've never planted bulbs before, so I was expecting, some flowering, but I think these don't come up till July or August, so we still got a month left till we start to see some blooms, but the leaves are looking good. I don't know if it's going to end up the same way that my tulips did, which the tulips didn't come up, but I'm just assuming that was a first year fluke because they did come up. The plants themselves were up, but they never flowered. So I'm wondering if that's what's happening with these. Not quite sure yet. Over here we have our rose bushes. Right here, this is pretty exciting. We have our first rose bud coming on, and this one didn't seem to do anything. I think it might be dead. Our John F. Kennedy. I have a video on that too. You guys can check out. This random tomato plant, I left it. I don't really care. Over here, I have calendula, bachelor button, and a ton of weeds that I need to get in and pull. And then over here, I reseeded because unfortunately, my straw flowers and my aster did not come up. And I'm really disappointed in that because I spent like a ton of money on these seeds and they didn't come up. So that's a bummer. But I do have new varieties coming in here. I mixed up a bunch of perennials and lots of daisies in this bed. And over here, I've got things like Rudbeckia, Echinacea, stuff like that. I just kind of mixed up and then planted it and said, you know what, whatever comes up, and we'll hope for the best. Yeah, the flower garden it's slowly coming. It's a disappointment that some of those things just didn't come up. It's quite a bummer because we spent how much money and time into those, and it's disappointing. But hopefully the other seeds that I planted come up in due time and we get a decent amount of blooms out of this season. But so far, off to a rough start. But I'm sure it'll pick back up and we'll get a good season out of it anyway. Next up, the squash garden, which is also very weedy. I sprayed down some weed killer and it worked. It did work, but I think I needed to add a little bit more because it looks like some of the stuff didn't get hit. So let's look in here. So here it is. I need to put down more grass mulch, but this is what it's looking like. You can see right here is one of the plants. We have a variety of squash and gourds, different melons, a whole bunch of stuff in here, along with some marigold flowers and our nasturtium just for pest control and protection. But you can already tell stuff's getting eaten. So, pests are a booger in the garden. Pests and diseases, oh my gosh, can't keep up with it. We have cucumber beetles and powdery mildew every single year. Haven't really found a good solution for it yet, but this is how this bed's doing. Let's move on to the big garden. The grapes are looking good too. While we're over here, might as well take a peek. I'm really pleased with how many are on it this year. We usually don't get a ton show up. If we do, they get that spot disease thing, which is really annoying, but lots of grapes this year. And apples. Tons of apples in our orchard. I'm gonna have to give you guys a tour of that sometime. But for now, let's head into the big garden. Half of this garden is controlled with weeds and mulch, but the other half is weeded, so bear with me. Over here I just planted all this, so not much is going to be up for this bed, but we have basil, radishes, cabbage, which we've spaced out in various places, my okra, never grown okra before, but I'm excited to see how it does. Over here we also have some tomatoes that I had, because already we're having early blight on our tomatoes and it's really a bummer. Green beans all the way up this row. You can see we grass mulched this, and over here we didn't get to it yet, so I have grass mulch waiting over there. I gotta do a video for it, and I'll get that done eventually, and we'll keep up with all that. Over here we have our cucumber, a mixed variety of we have Wisconsin SMR and also a bunch of Muncher, because we love our Muncher cucumbers around here. They're super good. It needs a little bit of weeding. Like I said, we haven't done a ton of maintenance on some of these rows. Over here we have our tomatoes, and our tomatoes range from varieties of Roma and San Marzano. So some of these tomatoes are looking pretty big. I need to take some of these that have come up, because as you can see there's 3 plants in here. That's not going to do good. I'm going to move them to the cages that are like empty, because apparently the tomato plants died, and so we're just going to do that instead. Over here we have different colors of our nasturtium flowers. We have some of these deep dark red ones, the yellow, and this deeper orange, which is really pretty to see. I love having these pops of colors in the garden. Over there you can see there's some more as well, right here with the red and the yellow. It's just such a beautiful addition to the garden. Here we have one of my all-time favorite combinations, which is beans and sunflowers. I have my dragon tongue bush beans. I love these beans. If you guys have never had them, oh my gosh, you gotta get some. They get into like a purple white striped pattern, and it's super pretty, and they taste really good. And then some mammoth sunflowers in the middle. While these go up, these stay down. Sometimes they trellis, which is also really cool. Over here we have our zucchini. Might have to move these because I know these get a little bit big, but this is where I put them at the beginning of the year, and they're looking okay. We have our sweet peas, our sugar snap peas I mean, and you can see some of those are finally starting to flower, so that's a good sign. Over here, some more nasturtium. It's a cherry dwarf and a peach nasturtium, and they can trellis, so I'm giving that a shot, along with, I think there's a bean there that we planted, so whatever comes up on this trellis comes up. Over here we have our cucamelons, and those are also starting to flower. You can see a little yellow flower right there, so that's really cool. This is a dwarf variety of sunflower, and moving on down here I planted more sunflowers, which here's one that came up, and I'm excited to see the sunflowers in the garden. Again, pops of color. It's just something neat to have. Over here we have our beets, which those are looking really nice. And then our jalapenos, our bell peppers. And over here are my potatoes. I need to mound these guys soon. If you guys haven't seen the video, this is the process, how I'm growing my potatoes. It's up on my channel. You can check it out. Not a full video, but it's a short. I'll have to do a full video on these sometimes just to show you guys what we're doing. But potatoes are looking really good. I'm excited to see how these do, because I'm taking on a new experiment with growing potatoes. So stay tuned for that one. And lastly, we're going to move on to our last garden, which is my container garden up on my back deck. And we're going to show you guys what's happening up there. So over here we have, I find it very convenient that I put it on the deck. It's on the deck corn, and I'm excited to see how that does this year. We have some snack peppers, just little guys that are coming up. I think these are goji berries in here. You can see these flowers, not flowers, these plants right here. And in here is some basil that's looking like it's growing pretty good. We have a pear tomato and that's looking okay. And right here, this is a peanut plant. I planted other peanuts in here, but they didn't come up. Only this one. So the peanuts are growing underground right now, and hopefully we'll get a decent harvest of peanuts. This is the first time I've ever done this. But this is my container garden, and this is just an idea of something that you guys can do if you're in small spaces or if you're in an urban area. This is a simple garden idea. It doesn't take much. Just get you some pots and put some plants in it, and it'll work out pretty good. So thank you guys for watching. This is the first of many garden tours you'll be seeing up on my channel. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you want to stay tuned for more, make sure to subscribe. Please share this anywhere you can. It really supports me and helps me out a lot, so I appreciate that. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.